everyone, and welcome to 30 Days of Love, a sacred season of reflection, imagination, and action where we center love as embodied, accountable force in our lives and in our world. And today's focus is on grounding in context, which reminds us that love without context becomes abstract. But love, rooted in history, place, and lived experience, has the power to transform our communities and sustain justice over time. I'm honored to be joined this morning by Nicole Pressley, the Organizing Strategy Director for Side with Love. Nicole is a seasoned organizer and faith leader whose leadership has shaped some of the most significant justice mobilizations in UU history, from UU the Vote to Side with Love's integrated organizing across democracy, bodily autonomy, climate justice, and criminal legal system reform. Nicole brings a grounded, relational approach to organizing that calls us to lead with moral clarity, collective care, and liberating love. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow, thank you for that generous introduction. I'm like, is that what I do?
That's you.
Wow.
Well, honestly, on this week's theme, I think you are one of the best voices to talk about this because it's kind of one of the most central pieces of what organizing looks like, which is understanding the contexts that we are trying to organize in. And so, as we're starting off, I just wonder when you hear the phrase grounding in context, what does that mean to you personally and in the work that you do?
Um, to me personally, grounding in context is um I feel like it is language to hold ourselves accountable as we go about the work because I think simply it means being present to actual people and their lives and their experiences. That knowing that we can't escape interdependence and mutuality. So for us to understand a person, for us to understand a community, for us to understand an issue, we have to understand them, their experiences, place, culture, history. It is a constant call to be rooted in what is real for people. Maybe not what you see, what you observe, what you think. We all sometimes want to come into a community and be like, this is the problem. Why are we fighting on this? Or like, this is a solution. If we all just did this, this would happen. And then suddenly, right through these foundational skills in organizing, um, one-on-ones, right? Canvassing and door knocking, people's assemblies, community meetings where you're actually listening and hearing from people and meeting people, you find, right, that the problem you thought was the problem might be actually a different problem. The cause, right, you might have misdiagnosed. And then the constant truth that whatever the solution is, you're not going to win without the people. And so there, I think it is not only that it is strategic and like you are far more likely to win, right? If you
Yeah.
actually, right, ground in the context of people's lives and experiences, but whatever that win is becomes far more sustainable because it's held in the culture of the people, right? It doesn't necessarily require this constant campaign or constant presence or you even to be there. It just means that people are actually transformed
Yeah.
and that they shift towards one another. And if people shift towards one another, they can fight for anything and they
Yeah.
can win anything.
I love that. And I love that you're using the language of transformation because I think the next thing I want to draw you into is how does this look in a spiritual community or a faith community context? There is sometimes, I think, in these conversations, a separation between the organizing work out there and the faith community in here. I wonder what context mattering looks like for a local community that's trying to organize.
Yeah, I mean, for me, faith is faith.
Mm.
Um, we are undertaking a radical and not insignificant task of fighting against empire and oppression. Um, Everyday people believing that they can and should engage in that struggle, and that they can actually win, has everything
Mm.
to do with faith and not, and I use the term win, but I think as it relates to faith, that the best way is to describe it might be that there is an after, there is an other side, right? That how we move through this moment with and for one another, right, will allow us to claim that future,
Yeah.
right? To claim this existence. And I think that no matter what your um, religion or belief system, um, that requires immense faith,
Mm.
right? And that might be faith in a God, but it also requires immense faith in one another,
Yeah.
immense faith in humanity, that there is something good and worthy and valuable enough to preserve and fight for, and the wild belief that that thing maybe exists in all of us,
Mm.
even as we disagree. So I feel like how this relates spiritually is that organizing for justice and liberation itself is an act of manifestation, right? It is a spiritual practice to believe in one another, to support one another in our heartache, and sometimes when we face material hits, right? When you are organizing with people, you have to be present to, are they hungry? What is going on with their children, right? How is their health? You find yourself caring about strangers,
Yeah.
right? Which I think there's oh my God, I forgot who the actual quote is from, but I know Bell Hooks lifts it up in one of her uh, texts about love, and it is about love being the will
Mm.
to what is it, like stretch yourself for the like spiritual growth of yourself or another,
Yeah.
right? That love is the practice, and in the hard work, and sometimes the not getting a victory in some of our campaigns, um, that is exactly the work we're doing, is stretching ourselves to transform and to love ourselves and to love other people better, and for us to grow together to fight again.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's such an important perspective, regardless, again, of your religious belief. Having faith in the ability to see a different kind of future is exactly the work that we're doing. And you've already touched on this a little bit, but to kind of root us again into context, so many folks in both organizing and in faith communities may enter into a community that they're not actually a part of, that they might not have any personal connection to, but they're there to try to bring organizing skills and to help build a better future. I wonder, how does paying attention to local stories and histories change the way that organizers or just average people in their communities respond to injustice that's being experienced?
I mean, I think it's just about listening.
Yeah.
Um, I believe, I definitely believe in the art and the skill of organizing, right? There are just some, you know, you can get better at doing this thing. And we absolutely, right, with Side with Love, we support congregations, right, in building more capacity to organize. Um, but fundamentally, no one takes up that work outside of a relationship
mm,
where they are heard and listened to and understood, and you meet them where they're at. So this is, it's not a top-down thing. It is not a paternalistic, I have this thing and I'm going to give it to you, right? It is not this deficit relationship. I think, most organizers, I was in some convening and, someone asked the question of, what is your favorite part of organizing? Like and you hear the same thing over and over again, which is when you're working with a group, a team, a community, and they begin to realize they have power
mm,
and agency. And I think that is fundamentally, right, what organizing is about. And absolutely, we talk about like, teaching and coaching, skills. Um, but when people can locate their own power and agency right outside of what the world tells them they can do and tells them they can have, um, they can do anything.
mm.
But in order to unlock that in a person, not only do you have to listen, but you have to be vulnerable yourself, right? You're not there as some disinterested party to someone's life. You are there as a companion, right? This is why I think this is, right? This is a justice ministry. You are there with someone, right? To walk with them through the struggle of organizing. It is not easy. It can be very heartbreaking. You will, if you do it right, people are going to be mad, right? Shaking people out of the status quo
Yep.
usually brings things bubbling up to the surface. Um, and organizing in a group or a community means being present with people um, as they traverse that terrain. Um, but in it, we fall in love with the work and we fall in love with each other.
I love that. I think a really important part of that as well is also recognizing whether, again, these are individuals in a faith community or an organizing group that goes to help organize. There needs to be accountability with communities that are being impacted the most by harm. And I wonder how do we practically practice love that is accountable when we're stepping into communities that are experiencing trauma and injustice? What are practical ways that looks like?
Well, I think first is that we're not stepping in,
Mm,
right? We are there in relationship um, or being invited.
mm,
Um, yeah, we don't, one, our congregations themselves, right, exists, right, in communities, and that is where you start. You start at home, right? Um, And that is where the line of accountability starts, is that these people live here, right? These people worship here, these people work here, and these people hold these relationships. Now we extend, right? And we go, okay, we're going to make more relationships. We're going to move into a coalition. Um, but like everything, it should be consensual,
yeah,
right? There's no, I'm gonna plop down and go, I'm gonna, organize this community. It is, hey, we we've been on campaigns together. We've been in a coalition together. We live in and work in the same place, and we're all taking action. How can we do this better? How can we do this with more people? What is it that you need, right? It's also asking the question, how can I be of use and how can I be of service? Um, so yeah, it is starting with that relationship. Um, and I feel like sometimes we think about accountability as in, and then you do something wrong, right? And then you have to correct it, and then you have to apologize and atone and repair, which is absolutely true. But accountability is also about being sustained in the work.
Mm,
Accountability is also about, I didn't disappear after the campaign, right? We are with you into the next win or lose. Accountability, right, is also about me maybe increasing my risk tolerance, right? To say, you know what? I'm not just a donor to that work.
mm,
I'm a volunteer. I'm not just a volunteer. I'm an activist, right? I'm not just an activist. I'm going to grow into an organizer and lead and bring more people into the work. Um, so yeah, I just feel like sometimes we talk about accountability and it feels like this scary thing. Um, but it really is about how are you locating yourself in this community, grounded, right, with and for people. Um, and if you do that well, like yes, you will mess up.
yeah,
Um, but the community holds you,
yeah,
right? That is the point. And if you're grounded, like in the values that we have, right? Like that can be transformative. It doesn't have to be punitive. It doesn't have to be scary. It is that we have stretched. I've been wrong a lot. We grow into this work. I am grateful for the people who have pulled me aside
mm,
and told me that that is not the way. I trust them more
yeah,
in this work because they have done that for me. Uh,
yeah,
people don't people don't call in or give critical feedback to people they don't care about. They'll just ignore you.
yeah.
So,
I love that. I mean, what I hear is a shift from, I think often speaking as somebody who leads a faith community, like I think often faith communities think of issues that we need to address rather than the communities that we are a part of. And I think the shift that I'm hearing in the way you talk about organizing is that you are really first and foremost prioritizing relationship, love, care for actual people. And out of that, yes, you'll organize to overcome specific issues, topics, make certain campaigns, but it's relationship first. And
yeah, because we work on issues, right? Sometimes like it's a strategic thing. Some things need to be won,
yeah,
right? Some things need to be won. Some things will bring the community together in service to defining who and what this community wants to be. But if we win everything, right? What is left,
yeah,
right? We have to actually build the thing that we want to call forth in the world. So it's not just about like, oh, I won this legislation, or we won this funding, right? Or we stopped this, uh, environmental threat. Um, the relationships and the values and the accountability and the love have to be there because after that victory, you're just left with each other. And what are you going to create then? Are you going to recreate the very systems, right, that
yeah,
weren't working, or are you going to create something else? And if we don't build those bonds with each other, grounded in our values, um, we will just create a different type of empire, maybe oppress a different and new group of people. And, if we're fighting against oppression, we're fighting against oppression of all,
mm,
right? For all, and forever.
yeah. I love that. And one of the biggest things that I have heard personally in my own experience, but I'm sure you are hearing as well, is we're in a moment where there is so much happening all the time. And I think both organizers and faith leaders and individuals in congregations feel the pressure to respond to everything all the time, and burnout is a very real thing. I wonder, what advice might you offer to folks that just feel like the world is on fire? I don't know what to do or where to even begin.
Um, Same.
Yeah,
I think I'll say that first. Um, we all feel that deeply. Um, and for many of us, even more so uh, in these times. I think we have to protect our energy. Um, worrying is exhausting. Um, Looking at yourself as an individual and then looking at the evil in this world is daunting.
Mm.
Um, I would say, one, ask yourself the question, are you so busy worrying that you're actually not taking action, right? Is the fear and the exhaustion and the heartbreak actually keeping you from doing? Um, and one thing I've, said on our team, is humbling yourself to realize that your individual actions are insufficient.
Mm.
They are individually, looked at individually, insufficient. You are not
Yeah.
going to topple authoritarianism. Now, you and your friends, right, and your family members and your coworkers, um, may be able to do, right, like you can do something, and you doing something can inspire other people to do something, and so on. Um, I would ask myself, like, is this stopping me from doing what I can do?
Mhm.
Right? Is the challenge to I have to solve authoritarianism keeping you from doing something you can do? Um, and also believing and trusting uh, in people and their capacity to find their work. That is how we're going to get through this. Everyone doing what they can, the things that matter and have an impact, and believing that others are doing the same.
Mm.
Which is why I think that like storytelling is a crucial spiritual part of the work because sometimes you need to hear about the, you know, whistle making party happening on the, west side of Chicago. You need to, right, hear about the Know Your Rights training, happening in a church. You need to hear about the church doing and providing sanctuary. You need to hear about a local city council win or a school board win, to remind you that all of this work is happening everywhere. And all we're responsible for doing is joining and being sustained in something
Mm.
of purpose that matters. You don't have to solve everything. Solve something though.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And the other side of that coin, I just want to ask one more practical question, which is in a moment like this, how do you discern when it's time to act quickly or when it's time to slow down and listen more deeply?
Ooh, I think I'm still learning that. Um, I mean, I think you act quickly when you know your lack of action will have consequences.
Mm.
Um, So, I think about being at, encampments, right? And getting a call at midnight, like, we have to hold this encampment and people, are going home because it's midnight in the winter in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
But if there are fewer people at that site and that because it's midnight, the cameras and the reporters have gone away, and all there are a handful of people and a bunch of police. And that being present and more people being present is what's going to create safety, right? Then yes, right? You take action. I also think it is about knowing what you are capable of, um, and what your presence will do, right? Are you rushing and saying yes to something you can do that is going to make real life or death or material impacts on people's lives? Or are you moving out of your own anxiety and knowing that maybe you actually taking action makes people less safe,
Mm,
right? Um, so I think there's just a bit of discernment of whatever that action is. Are you making the conditions better or are you making the conditions worse? Sometimes you're making them better, and yes, there's going to be like some like, well, because we moved fast, we're going to have to double back real quick and,
yeah.
and fix the thing. Um, but yeah, and sometimes you just have to sit back and go, that is not my place.
Mm,
Or I want to take action, but this isn't my action because my presence there is not what is needed. Um, Practicing humility and discernment
mm,
um, is what is going to help when you're feeling right. What is that feeling in your body? Is that feeling a call that you need to answer because you are needed? Or is that feeling, right? I want to do something because it is going to make me feel better.
yeah.
That is a particularly sometimes dangerous place to move out of. Um, so yeah, take a breather, ask yourself some critical questions, and then make the best decision.
Yeah. That's so helpful and I think so practical for folks in this moment, thinking about how to engage and whether to engage. And as we're coming to the end of our conversation, I'm just mindful that there are many people all across this country that feel disconnected from their communities or feel uncertain of their place right now in all the organizing that is happening. I wonder if you could offer a piece of grounding wisdom to folks that are wanting to be engaged but feeling a little out of place at the moment.
Um, Piece of wisdom. Um, be honest.
Mm,
Um, I know there's some there are beloved weirdo extroverts out there
yeah,
who are just ready to be out there, to talk to the people, to do things, or they're just people who have been in the work so long, right? That they're like, yep, like let's go, let's do this. Um, I feel like most people feel like either, oh, well, they don't need me, or these people are so smart, right? Like, I don't know anything, or all these people are friends, and I don't think they want to talk to me. Any community, any group, any organization, collective that um, is really grounded in like deep values um, and really want to win, they want to see you. They want, right? Like they want to see you coming through their doors. They want to see you signing up for their list. They are ready to welcome and absorb you. And it is okay to say, I'm scared to go to my first meeting, right? I'm scared to show up ask someone to come with you. Talk to the organizers and being like, I don't know how I can be of use. Trust me, I believe they will talk to you, and direct you to where you can be of use. And know that that is the um, the first step in something really transformational, doing something scary or uncomfortable. Um, changes you, and it changes you for the better. I was a deep introvert, very shy, social anxiety, and just got pissed enough to be like, well, I guess I'm going to work on this campaign. And I remember nearly wanting to faint um, with the first door I knocked on. And I still remember the people from that campaign. I remember an older woman that phone canvassed and, wanted a yard sign, and like me getting in the car and delivering that yard sign to her and being like, that campaign was not going to win or lose because of me. Um, but it was going to win or lose because of more people like me willing to say, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't knock on every door, but I knocked on a lot of doors, and other people knocked on a lot of doors. And some people voted and changed their minds and thought about the issues um, differently. So just um, say yes, be brave, ask for help. Um, and find the right place. Because truly, if you are saying, I don't know what I can do, how can I help? I'm a little scared, and you are rebuffed, that is not the place you need to be to need to be organizing in, honestly. Um, but yeah, I would say I am with you. I am there. I am there still all of the time. Um, and do it anyway, because what I do fundamentally believe is that the world that we can have is more important than our fear and our discomfort.
Mm, I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, Nicole, thank you for your depth, clarity, and the wisdom you shared with us today. And as we continue through 30 Days of Love, my hope is that this conversation will call us back to presence, to listening more deeply, acting more responsibly, and loving more truthfully within the contexts that shape our lives and our communities. So, again, Nicole, thank you for your leadership and your generous conversation. And to all who are watching with us, may love remain at the center of all that we do. Thank you all.